What's up? A to Z Sports here live on a Friday. Man, it's been a crazy week, but we have made it to Friday. And of course, we're getting a blizzard here in the Nashville area and across the state of Tennessee and across the South as the snow has been falling for almost an hour and a half at my house. And it's not going to slow down anytime soon. So before we get going, guys, everybody, be safe. Don't do anything stupid. If you think it might be stupid, then don't do it, because if you're questioning it, then it's probably dumb. So just be safe out there in the snow, as the most of the population doesn't really know what to do with it, nor are we prepared to handle 8 inches of snow that might drop down in about 24 hours. But Sam, some people will have fun. Hopefully we can have some fun with the snow out there, but gonna have a good conversation as the news keeps happening in the Titans world, because it starts this week with the number 1 overall draft pick, then the firing of Ran Carthon after about 48 hours of silence from owner Amy Adams Strunk, and then Mike Keith leaves the Tennessee Titans for the Tennessee Vols, so he's no longer the voice of the Titans and now the voice of the Tennessee Vols. It looks like Sam's internet might be struggling with the weather as well. Hopefully that camera will come back here in a second. But we have a lot to get to. I have a maybe hot take. I'm not entirely sure if it is a hot take. I did run the take by Sam yesterday about replacing Mike Keith is a bigger deal and more impactful than the Titans replacing Ran Carthon as general manager. So we will get into that, but there is some updates when it comes to the general manager search, the timeline, the job specifically, and then also we've got some college football to recap. We've also got the NFL wildcard weekend to get into, and Sam has just texted me saying that his power went out. So that is an interesting development here. So Sam's power has gone out. So now I am just going to, let's see if I can text Sam, see if he can go hotspot. Oh, man. Let's see if Sam can go hotspot, because sometimes I can't text and talk at the same time. But as we wait for Sam to potentially come back, as he is trying his hotspot here, I will go ahead and tell you guys, like the show while you're here. Also, share the show if you can, because we are going to have an interesting conversation. I want everybody's opinion on my maybe hot take here about Mike Keith and the Titans GM job. So make sure you share the show on Facebook, share it on Twitter. We've tweeted it out. You can retweet that as well. But liking the show on Facebook and on YouTube is the way to go. So make sure you like the show, and I will get us going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. Sam has no power right now, so currently not powered by BetMGM, but he'll be back hopefully here in a moment. But I'm Austin Stanley. Hope to be soon rejoined by Sam Phelan, one of our Titans reporters for A2ZSports.com. And now Sam says his power is back and his Wi-Fi is rebooting. So here we go. I will pick this side of the graphic as I have a bar down the middle of the screen. But we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help all of you. Like Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can do that by getting a quote today using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. There you go. And T-Dot can keep our state clean and join their campaign by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. And our new friends at the Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away at bartdurham.com. So, Sam, power just quick surge on and off. You're good?
Nope,
Everything's
no,
solid?
no, I'm done. We're back here. This happened.
Now my phone is a little weird.
Nope. Now your mic sounds good.
Yeah, we had a couple of these last night too. We got all kinds of chaos. I'm getting phone calls this morning. Like we are all off the rails all over the place here on a Friday morning. But we show must go on, so we power through.
And the show must go on. I told everybody to share the show. 5-star Google reviews, maybe 5-star Google reviews can help Sam's Wi-Fi and power stay strong.
It happened last night. 2 different times last night. Power flipped off and then back on. And so, here we go.
But we are good. Okay. So Sam, before we dive into the Mike Keith conversation and Mike Keith versus this GM hire, because I called you yesterday afternoon. I was like, I think I have a hot take. It might be a hot take, but it might not be a hot take. And we were like, all right, let's just stop talking and do this on the show tomorrow. So I really don't know how you feel about my opinion on this, but let's update some interesting and positive developments for the Titans GM search. So last night, Easton published the article on AtoZSports.com/Titans with the headline, Titans get a needed win from the NFL regarding the GM search to replace Ran Carthon. And that comes via Jonathan Jones' report from CBS Sports. And that is a good thing, is that Jonathan Jones said sources, the NFL has reviewed the description of the Titans GM position, and the two sides have agreed that the vacant position will be the primary football executive post. Non-GMs cannot be blocked by their current teams from accepting interview requests. So that is a big, good, positive development for the Titans, because as we pull up this list of GM interviews that Sam, you and I went over yesterday, and the list has gotten longer. Ian Cunningham has officially been requested for an interview, as was Matt Berry live on the show from the Seahawks. Nobody on here can be blocked by their current employer to talk to the Tennessee Titans. Everybody here is either an assistant general manager or a lower position, or as Thomas Dimitroff is, a free agent. So that is a good development, Sam. Now, adding to that was Albert Breer earlier this morning, who had a couple sets of information. The Titans' first round of GM interviews is set for this weekend. Today is Reggie McKenzie from Miami, Thomas Dimitroff, formerly of Atlanta, and John Spytek of Tampa. Tomorrow on Saturday is Ed Dodds from Indy, Matt Berry from Seattle, Terrence Gray from Buffalo, and Catherine Hickman from Cleveland. And then Sunday is Mike Borgonzi of Kansas City and your boy Ian Cunningham in Chicago. So that is a lot of interviews virtually over the next 3 days as the Titans are dealing with the weather. And we knew from Terry McCormick that they would need virtual interviews this weekend, followed by in-person interviews next week once the weather melts away in the Nashville area. Sam, your initial thoughts? Oh, hold on. Albert Breer added more. Did you have something else?
I have another update as well, not from Albert Breer.
Oh, okay. What's that?
So, I mean, do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll go let me continue the Albert Breer because he says the organizational structure is the same as last year. Brian Callahan reports to the GM. The GM will run the draft and free agency and oversee scouting, medical, strength, and conditioning. So that is the job of the GM. So Chad Brinker might have roster control, but the GM will have the head coach report to them. The GM will run the draft, and the GM will run free agency and scouting, medical, strength, and conditioning. So that is the full Albert Breer update. What do you have?
We'll circle back to that because I'm annoyed at that.
Okay.
Diana Rossini reports that the Titans are going to go through the process of interviews set for this weekend, and she expects Reggie McKenzie to get a lot of support, says he's considered the lead candidate for Tennessee right now.
Wow.
So former GM, current Miami Dolphins executive Reggie McKenzie, currently considered the we talked yesterday morning on the show. We kind of went over the resume of a couple of these people. McKenzie was one of the people that we went over who had a pretty long history, is the general manager with the Raiders, and had sort of this rise and fall of the Raiders in the league and their standing within the league. And a lot of that may be out of McKenzie's control. So that apparently, according to Diana Rossini, the leading candidate for the Titans.
So that's interesting. So I think that'll make an interesting transition into what we are about to talk about. So Reggie McKenzie, former Vol, the leader in the clubhouse, to replace Ran Carthon.
Gotta pander.
Got to pander because the Tennessee Titans are losing maybe the biggest Vol that's been a part of the organization.
Can we just, sorry to delay this for a minute. Can we go back to that Albert Breer update?
If you want to, yes. I'm fine with that. We have a lot of things to talk to.
I'm, without trying to overreact, I'm now like pissed at the Titans again. Like all the stuff that I've been trying to be like, chill out. Now I'm pissed again. What are we doing? We're keeping the organizational structure the same. Why can't they just have it make sense, Austin? Why can't they just why do they have to contradict themselves every day and a half? Like first it's this clear structure, and now it's, well, maybe not. And then there is a clear structure. And now the new GM is going to be running the draft after we publicly put out there that Chad Brinker will be the head of the entire football department and will be in charge of making all the roster decisions. But the GM's going to run the draft and free agency. And so now when a free agency or draft decision goes wrong, we don't really know if we want to blame the GM who's running the draft and free agency, if we want to blame Chad who's in charge of the everything else. But then if the other GM's in charge of the coaching staff, the free agency, the draft, strength and conditioning, what does Chad do? I'm so annoyed at this. Right. Why do they have to contradict themselves every day and a half? Why can't we just set the record straight of what people are doing? I don't want a GM. Fire Chad Brinker too. I didn't want to get carried away. I'm off the rails this morning. Fire Chad, fire all of them. Throw the whole damn thing out. Because if we can't have it, the reason I was excited about where the Titans were going a little bit is the idea that you actually had something that made sense and was aligned. But if we can't even make it make sense within our own market and our own organization, I don't know what you want me to do.
Okay, so here's my look. I understand your frustration. I think it is fair to be frustrated and annoyed by the Titans speaking out of both sides of their mouths, right? Because that's what it sounds like they're trying to do. Because here's my reaction to the Albert Breer news, that the structure is the same as last year. The coach, Brian Callahan, reports to the GM. The GM runs the draft and free agency and oversees scouting, the medical staff, and strength and conditioning. Now, we heard earlier in the week, Chad Brinker, the president of football operations, has final say on the roster and has the roster control, right? So what I think is happening is, I think you already mentioned pandering. I think the Tennessee Titans organization, initially, they want the structure for Chad Brinker to be the ultimate boss and for the GM to be our grinder scout guy, like we talked about the last 48 hours. That is what they want to do in-house. But that is not what the NFL structure wants them to do. And so in order to appease and pander to the NFL's rules of executive job descriptions, the Titans said, no, guys, chill. It's going to be fine. The same stuff. And this is what it's going to be. So, yeah, we don't need permission to talk to Ian Cunningham as an assistant GM. We're not hiring an assistant GM job. We're hiring a real GM job. That's all I think it is. Because I think at the end of the day, inside the building is Chad Brinker's Titans. That is what we are walking into. I think they are literally just trying to play within the lines of the NFL's job description rules and to get the NFL off their back so they can go hire whoever they want to hire to fit in this pigeonhole of a spot. So does that make sense too?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense reasoning wise, but that doesn't, I guess, solve the problem for me, because now we have to have the same damn conversation for the next year of who's actually making the decisions. Because the Titans are saying publicly now that when we're running the draft, it's going to be the new general manager. And so if they go out and they crush it, or if they go out and they bomb the number 1 overall pick and they absolutely tank this thing, now we have to ask, well, is it Chad? Well, no, Chad wasn't running the draft. Well, no, it's the new GM. But no, let's be honest. We all know that Chad's really the one calling the shots. like we have to do the same thing. And like, that's just so annoying and tired. This was my fear when I talked about this. I said the reasons that I would be pissed if they, with the Ran firing and the way that they've set this up, is if they didn't remain consistent and were not even like 72 hours post Ran firing, and they have not been able to stay consistent.
They're trying to appease whatever their current audience is. And on Tuesday, the audience was the Titans fan base and trying to sell alignment. And when talking to the NFL, they were just trying to appease the NFL so they can go interview whoever they want. So, I mean, it's slimy sales, right? That's, it's the used car salesman. You're just trying to sell to whoever's in front of you.
But like where I'm at with this now, man, like I'm just like I'm done with it. I'm done trying to figure it out. Like I'm done talking about it. I'm done trying to figure it out. I'm done trying to like get information about it. I'm done with the whole this is annoying. It's obnoxious. Nobody cares.
It is annoying. It is obnoxious, but we will continue to figure it out because that's
we're not gonna figure it out. That's the thing.
I know. I already figured it out. I just told you what it is.
That's what you think, but like they're gonna keep lying about it. Like they're gonna
probably no. But hey, the goalposts keep moving, and we'll just keep trying to kick it through the new ones. All right. So I want to switch gears here. I do want to know everybody in the chat's reaction to the Mike Keith news. So if you do want to drop a one word into the chat of your one word reaction when you saw Mike Keith leaving the Tennessee Titans organization, the only voice of the Tennessee Titans to become the new voice of the Vol Network and the Tennessee Volunteers. I want you guys to drop a one word into the chat to describe how you feel about that. While you do it, I will tell you guys about our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. It's a crazy one out there this weekend. The weather is going to be bad, and hopefully everybody can stay safe. But sometimes you slip, you fall when it's snow, when there's ice, and you have to know where you can turn to when those type of injuries occur. And that is the Bone and Joint Institute. If you're a Middle Tennessean, if you live in Northern Alabama or even Southern Kentucky, the Bone and Joint Institute has more resources and better experts than anywhere else in this area. And they can make sure to help you out and make it in a clean, efficient process from injury to getting back to healthy. They've helped me out a couple times over the last few years with just some regular injuries that happen as you get older a little bit, with some over-exercising and some maybe a little irresponsibility for me, but that happens as well, and they can help you get back to health just like they did me. Online, book an appointment when you need them, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. This broke me this morning, man. I'm like,
hey,
BetMGM, BetMGM.com, bonus code ATOZ Sports, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet. We've got more college football playoff action tonight in a game between Texas and Ohio State to see who else is going to the national championship game Saturday, Sunday, full of NFL wildcard weekend action as well. So bonus code ATOZ Sports for the sportsbook born in Vegas. Get in the game with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, so I'm going to read through some of these one words because Mike Keith officially leaving the Tennessee Titans for the Tennessee Volunteers to become the voice of the Vols. And I'm going to read some of your reactions here. PPG just said sad. Mario worry. MB saying lucky. Troy's not surprised. Nick was just mad. Steven shocked. Titans Kyle, this was my favorite so far. Sad. I like that.
I thought that was a typo.
No, that is absolutely a sad.
This might be a dumb question. Is he going to do that with Tennessee?
I'll tell you my thoughts here in a little bit. Noah says confirming. Bald and Bearded says flabbergasted. Expected from Guy. Go Big Orange says Gabriel. Nathaniel says understandable. And Ronnie says pissed. Bittersweet from Richard, and depressing from the Bear. There's more that come in here, but Sam, let's play the video because honestly, this is badass. And if you are a Mike Keith fan, then you need to be understanding of what this is that Mike Keith is becoming able to do with his career change. This was the video that Mike Keith and the Tennessee Volunteers put out yesterday with announcing his move to become the next voice of the Vols with the Vol Network.
Section V, row 15, seat 21. Where I sat when Stanley Morgan's last-second touchdown changed my 7-year-old heart forever. There were trips to Stokely to see the Ernie and Bernie show.
In closer, 15-footer in the air, bottom!
Storming the field when Mike Terry closed the door on Alabama in '82. In person at the '86 Sugar Bowl when Jeff Powell went roaring down the green sward. Going to work for John Ward.
A look behind the scenes now as we join Mike Keith.
And experiencing more than 500 broadcasts with him, including standing right behind him on play number 1. Packing them bags and heading to Omaha was great too. And then leaving to find my own voice, which led to 27 wonderful seasons in Nashville. But then the call comes. And well, the heart of that 7-year-old still beats loudly all of those years later. The memories come rushing back. No matter where you go or what you do, it never leaves you. Tennessee never leaves you.
It's spring football time in Tennessee.
An amazing honor to be in the chair where 4 legends have worked.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lindsey Nelson.
Time for the next moments to last a lifetime. It's time.
So that's the video that was put out, and like I'm not exaggerating, like the chill bumps and the hair on my arms are standing up. This is a legitimately very cool thing because not a lot of people in this world get to land their ultimate dream job, and that's exactly what just happened with Mike Keith after 27 years of what 99.9% of people would call a dream job. So Sam, I've got more stuff on this, but I want your reaction too, as you've gotten to know Mike Keith a little bit over the last several years, covering the Titans and what you think about the news and the move.
Yeah, so cool. Anybody that knows Mike Keith knows that this was the dream job. It's hard to imagine for a lot of people how you could be such an iconic figure for an NFL franchise and be so beloved in your home state even, and still have aspirations to go one place higher, one place different. And this is not just the job that you can get hired for, or a job like it is more difficult to get the job that Mike Keith just got than it is to become a professional athlete for your favorite team, because there's one there. For real, you grow up, you say, I want to be a pitcher for, the Atlanta Braves. Well, there's 13 of those on the Braves every single year, and they turn them over. And there's a lot of guys that end up pitching for the Braves. In Mike Keith's entire lifetime, there's been like 3 guys that have sat in the chair.
He is the 5th.
But I don't even know if they're all in his lifetime.
No, they're not. He is the 5th overall since 1948.
First person ever to have that job. So just ridiculously cool. I first met Mike Keith when I was in college at Lipscomb. I knew nothing about the Nashville market really as a whole. I came in a Chicago boy. I knew all my Chicago media people. I didn't know Nashville. I had no idea who Mike Keith was. And he spoke to one of my classes while I was taking a sports announcing class. And I was originally like, oh, this is cool. He's the play-by-play guy for the Titans. Like, obviously, works in the industry. So that's a cool guy to get to talk to. And then I realized, oh, you mean there are no flags on the field? Like that's you? And I started to realize, like, he's not just a play-by-play guy. He's an iconic play-by-play guy. He's a beloved figure here. We spoke to Bob Kessling that semester as well. And even Mike Keith said back then that he got into sports broadcasting, imagining himself as the guy in orange sitting there calling the Vols. And so, that was one of the first things I learned about him over the years now, getting to brush shoulders with him at the Titans facility. And just the guy that Mike is, could not be happier for him. And I'm like you, like that video is just chills and emotion. Like how do you not be romantic about Vol football when you watch something like that? Like, seriously. And that's coming from me. But like,
Yeah, right.
that I like you watch something like that, and it really is like, wow, what a cool opportunity for Mike, for Vols fans too, to get such a iconic, beloved voice over their airways calling their favorite team, and somebody who cares and loves that team just as much as you do, and just as much as the men that have come before Mike.
For sure. And so for me personally, as a Nashville native, a Tennessee Vol fan from like the first time I could like think about sports, there are two people in the industry that made me want to do this for a living. It's John Ward and Stuart Scott. And so John Ward retiring when I was 8 years old after the national championship, and realizing that and knowing that Mike Keith was there with John Ward and Bob Kessling. I've talked about my connection to Bob Kessling when I went to Tennessee as a high school senior on a college visit that felt like a recruitment because of how they treated people there. And then some of my, somewhat distant connection to Mike Keith over the years. But like, this is an incredible thing for Mike, because since 1948, he is just the fifth person to sit in that chair. And he was behind John Ward for 500 broadcasts. That is absolutely wild to think. And now after Bob Kessling goes 25 years, that Mike Keith gets to do this job for the next 25 years, or however long Mike gets it, because these are lifestyle jobs. And I think that's why it's so cool, because like, it doesn't come open for generations, and Mike's got a chance to do it. Like, there was, I don't know, like Bob Kessling, who knows how long he would have gone, or if he decides to retire. And now this is the one shot that Mike Keith has to have this opportunity, and you can't pass up on it, because it might not come open again in Mike Keith's lifetime. And so that's the type of job that it is. And so to kind of go back a little bit, I first caught wind of this probably 18, 20 months ago, and had conversations with Buck and Zach Reagan and some others about this. And honestly, I kind of put it on the back burner. When Bob Kessling's retirement announcement comes out, I started doing some more work, and people that are non-Vol fans, that are Titans fans, are thinking, oh my gosh, Amy Adams Strunk let Mike Keith out. Like, Amy Adams Strunk ruined this. Another bad thing that happened.
No, it's just great timing for Mike Keith to be able to get out of this disaster.
But it has, like, the Titans could be going to the Super Bowl, and Mike Keith would still make this move. Now, he would make it after the Super Bowl. But if the Titans were the most organized NFL organization, Mike Keith would still make this move. And I truly believe that.
I agree with that.
I expected them to try to have Mike Keith do both. And I was talking about this with some people last fall, that Mike Keith's goal was to find a way to do Titans games and Vols games during the football season. It wasn't going to be easy. I mapped it out. It would have been a lot of red-eye flights and a lot of overnight drives from one game to the next on Sundays, with night games for the Vols and noon games for the Titans. But that's what I understood was going to be trying to make work. But he would have had to give up a lot of other things with the role, because this role is way more than calling football games on Sundays and Mondays during the season. So I think Mike Keith,
this is a decision he made months ago, and has probably had locked in and finalized months ago, that just has not been announced, because was actively, the Titans play-by-play guy and the voice of the Titans, and he was fulfilling his duties there until the end of the NFL season. And now it comes out at the end of the season, as it, should, and as it makes sense for it too. But yeah, I agree. Like, this happens either way. I think you hit a point in any career field, but especially in these passion-driven fields like professional sports, where you can become not too successful, but you've accomplished basically all that you want to accomplish. And it doesn't matter if the Titans are in the Super Bowl or at the bottom of the NFL standings. This is not about Mike Keith going to the next big hot opportunity that's going to propel him on a bigger platform and get his name out there a little bit more. This is about Mike Keith, like he talks about in that video, going back to those 7-year-old roots that made him a passionate Vol fan, that made him want to do this job in the first place. And as you said, it's your one chance to do it. And so that's what this is to me. This is an emotional passion move for Mike to go and, do what he wants to do, because he's earned that right and has been successful with the Titans for so many years now.
All right. So here is my hot take that might be hot, might not be. And Sam, I called you about this yesterday. I was like, this could be our show tomorrow. I truly think that replacing Mike Keith is bigger and more impactful than the next general manager for the Tennessee Titans. And I don't want you to answer that right now, but I think for what Mike Keith was for the Titans organization and the fan base, this is a insanely huge hole. And I'm going to put up a YouTube poll on this. And I've already seen the first 4 comments that come in were split 2 each. So we'll find out what this poll looks like, because I think replacing Mike Keith is bigger and more impactful than replacing the Titans general manager spot. So Sam, we'll get your opinion. We'll get everybody's opinion here in the chat. But first, T-Dot's out there. They got a busy weekend ahead of them. T-Dot's out there trying to keep our roadways, our highways safe for everybody. And you can all jump in on a part of this once the ice and the snow melts. There's going to be a lot of slush over there, a lot of litter cleanup that's going to be needed to be made. And we can all jump in on that and be a part of our community to help out. NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. That's the website. That's the campaign to jump on with. NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. T-Dot, they're going at the end of all of their resources to do what they can to keep us safe this weekend. And so we can all help them out once we get through the winter weather at NobodyTrashesTennessee.com.
Today's show brought to you by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet. Austin and I will be talking NFL Wildcard Weekend here coming up at the end of the show. And if you want to get involved with Wildcard Weekend, go to BetMGM.com, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so I'm putting up the poll right now. Which Titans hire is more impactful this offseason? Replacing Mike Keith or the new GM? Sam, I will send you the chat first as the poll goes up now. What are you seeing from everybody here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch? By the way, like the show if you haven't yet. Please like the show, like the show, like the show. Let's see what people are saying.
Titans Kyle says, nah. Darius says, yes. Austin, no. Absolutely. Completely agree. 100. That's a heck of a take. The voice means a lot. We got no, we got yes, 100s. Amy will mess this up too. Nope. Yes. Nope. We've got that's silly. That's 100% true. No lies. GM is easy. Relating to the fans is hard. That's an overreaction. I think you're being emotional there, Austin. So we are pretty split. Let's see what else we got here. Trying to scroll. From Ronnie. I think you've got a slight majority on your side agreeing with you here, Austin, that this is more impactful.
So I want to make the case more and deeper, because I wanted to present it and get people's initial reaction. The reason why I think replacing Mike Keith is bigger and more impactful is because that is the strongest connection to the organization and the fan base. And the storyteller, the eyes and the voice of this fan base and the passion that you all have for the team has been told through the eyes and the voice of Mike Keith. And what he does outside of just the game broadcast, but we know the highlights go and live forever, but it's the things in the community. It's the speeches. It's going to Sam's class. It's going to my class in Knoxville. It's going to all the different high schools and Rotary clubs and all these other things across the entire state to be the representative of the Tennessee Titans. And everybody who is a Titans fan can relate to Mike Keith and connect with him. He is the biggest flag carrier of this organization, and he's not here anymore. And he's the only one who's held that position. There has been so many general managers for this franchise: Floyd Reese, Mike Reinfeldt, Rustin Webster, John Robinson, Ran Carthon. Enter the next guy. Chad Brinker, is he the guy who's making all the shots? We don't know. I didn't know the difference between Mike Reinfeldt and Rustin Webster when I was in college, because the GM didn't matter that much to me as a fan in college. But Mike Keith did, right? When Mike Keith walked into my college broadcasting class, I sat up. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be a great day. And I need to go up and talk to him after this. And that's the type of impact that Mike Keith has on this entire fan base. And so many of you guys, the Titans fans, would have that same, I need to go talk to this guy after he speaks reaction. If you have no interest in broadcasting whatsoever, it's because you have an emotional connection to the Tennessee Titans. Mike Keith is the heartbeat of the Titans fan base, and he is now gone. And you can't just replace them with a guy who's good at the job. That's not how the emotional connection is almost more important than being good at the job. And the job is more than just play-by-play. I don't think there is zero one-for-one replacement for Mike Keith with the Titans. They're going to have to completely restructure that organizational setup on the broadcast side of the company of the Tennessee Titans. But they're going to have to find somebody who's, one, very good at the job, but two, cares, and that can show that they care by being authentic and not being phony. The new GM is going to be judged on the quarterback, the wins and losses, and that's it. Like, I know how much the new public address announcer gets hated on because he's not Duke, who was doing it for the 20 years before. He's probably good at the job, but he's not the guy. He's not Duke. The next guy's probably going to be good at the job and qualified, but he's not Mike Keith. That's a losing battle. So that's why I think it's bigger and more impactful to find Mike Keith's replacement than the GM that's inevitably going to get fired in the next, 2 to 10 years.
Yeah, I firmly disagree with this. Now, I will say the new GM probably will be fired in like 8 weeks at this rate. Amy's going to change her mind again, and we're going to fire this guy before the season even gets here because she's going to overreact to something. But, I don't think fans care.
Really?
I think people love Mike Keith, but if you ask Titans fans, hey, have a voice that you love, that you reckon. Number one, I think fans are going to be pissed regardless. Fans are going to be like, you're not as good as Mike Keith regardless. And the person probably won't be, by the way. Mike Keith is awesome.
Yeah, there's nobody out there who's going to be, there is no upgrade. There is 0% zero chance for an upgrade at the position.
Even if you find a great broadcaster, which I think they could very well find a great broadcaster, I'm not sure it's going to be a broadcaster with local ties. I'm not sure anybody with, people are saying, come on, voice can make a major impact. Cubs fans about Harry Carey. Listen, Harry Carey was a broadcaster for the White Sox for 20 years before he was a Cub broadcaster. Let's get that clear. He was a White Sox first. But I mean, I grew up with Hawk Harrelson, and Hawk Harrelson was my icon that I loved, that I related to, that I watched White Sox baseball and connected to. I adore Hawk Harrelson. Now, I was very lucky. The White Sox replaced Hawk Harrelson in 2016 with Jason Benetti, who's a friend of mine and one of the best in the industry. And Jason Benetti was a rock star who White Sox fans were able to rally around. And he was a Chicago kid that also grew up to be a White Sox fan, that just was one of the best in the industry at what he was doing. It's, that was such a great hire. Then Jason Benetti left and the White Sox botched the hire. this past year, and they hired a guy named John Schriffen, who the fan base really does not like, who's not very good at the job, who does not understand the fan base, who does not understand baseball, and it's bad. And yet everybody within the White Sox says, I don't care, win baseball games. I think if you ask Titans fans, hey, get another Mike Keith 2.0 for the next 30 years, or Amy starts putting together a front office that wins football games and the Titans return to national relevancy and Super Bowl contention. Nobody cares who's calling the games if you're winning the games. So what do we make of this new GM in the role? I don't know. The Titans are telling us that it's the most important role that's ever existed in mankind. Like 2 days after saying that it's basically Chad's errand boy, and now they're saying, well, actually, he's in charge of everything. But
primary football executive post was Jonathan Jones.
Primary football executive post immediately after calling Chad Brinker, what is it? The primary football decision maker. Like literally right immediately after one another. So this is who knows how big this impact is going to be. But even if we are to believe that this is just Chad's errand boy and the person that's doing all of the hard work, this is still the person that's in charge of your scouting, which will inform your decisions on draft day. This is still your person that is doing player analysis and evaluation and trying to build a roster. Again, I don't think Titans fans care who's calling the game if the Titans are winning the game.
But it's not about calling the game. I think here's what I think, because it's more than just calling the game. It is the emotional connection to everything, because in the past, every time the Titans have been at a crossroads with on the football field, organizationally or structurally or whatever, when they've had to make a left turn, a pivot, or whatever, and there has been Mike Keith that goes out to the community and says, it's going to be fine. Here's the plan, and pitches the setup to the fan base individually across different pockets of the Titans fan base. And the fans trust Mike Keith because they know Mike Keith cares about the product like they do, like the fan does. There is nobody who is now going to be, if they hire insert name here as the GM, there is nobody to make that circuit that is going to be trusted and acknowledged and listened to by the fan base with Mike Keith gone. It's such an emotional, impactful hole that Titans fans are going to be. Okay, that's fine.
I mean, Mike Keith is great. Titans fans are going to miss Mike Keith, but you've acknowledged the fact that whoever they bring in is not going to be as good. Titans fans won't like as much. And so even if they crush the hire, what will have a bigger impact for Titans fans and their appreciation and emotional connection to the Tennessee Titans? It's not a figurehead that calls the games that's very active in the Nashville community. It's memories of a winning football team. That is what will attack. And so I can't weigh if I am to believe what the Titans are telling me, right? Because that's just what I'm just going to believe what they tell me from now on. The GM is making a bunch of key decisions for them and is leading a lot of the process into this new era of Titans football. Will have a pivotal role in, making this team a winner. That's what matters to fans. I think everything that gets solved, winning cures everything. Winning cures the culture problems. Winning cures dysfunction. Winning makes you go, who is that?
Of course.
I will say, Titans fans, do you want to be the Ravens? Do you want to be the Chiefs? Do you want to be? Yes. Do you know any of those play-by-play guys? No. Big Ten Jeff is a Colts guy. He was in the chat earlier saying, I don't even know who the Colts play-by-play guy is. This doesn't is it nice to have? Absolutely, man. It is definitely
the Ravens guy's name is Jerry Sandusky, by the way.
As the radio guy?
Yeah. Not that Jerry Sandusky.
All right. Yeah, bad week for Jerry Sandusky's apparently because Penn State lost. So
Different Jerry Sandusky, but that's who it is. So I do know who the Ravens guy is. So Teron says, hard for me to think that the play-by-play selection is bigger than the guy helping.
Yeah, like to me, it's
and so look,
it's winning football games. Fans don't care. I can call the games just like this, and it'll be like, well, most fans watch on TV. If they win, it helps everything else.
But another thing that goes into my point of why Mike Keith is a more impactful replacement than Ran Carthon's replacement is because I also see through that it's up to Chad Brinker, right? Chad Brinker's really calling the shots, and I think Chad Brinker is the most important football role in the organization, and Mike Keith was the most important non-football role in the organization. Do you buy that? Do you buy that Mike Keith was the most important non-football employee and role in the Titans organization?
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
And the shoes that Mike Keith figuratively wears are beyond Shaquille O'Neal size, right?
I mean, Mike Keith is the master of PR without working in PR. Like what he does for the organization with what you said, keeping fans like emotionally attached. There is absolutely something to the fact of like an iconic call that builds culture around a team. Like I keep bringing it back to my own childhood roots, right? But when I grew up listening to Hawk Harrelson saying, put it on the board for every home run, just became something that we did in Chicago that to me had emotional ties to my favorite team. And because it was also like known nationally. And, you know, every Titans fan loves letting out a sack scream. Like it's, you know, I like doing it. It's like, you know, it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm at the games is I watch somebody get sacked. And in my head, I'm just going, sack. And this is what we do. It's fun. We love Mike Keith, but I think Titans fans will forget about this if the team starts winning. And it really doesn't matter if they crush the hire. If they keep down this toxic path of losing football, they're not drafting well. They're not analyzing pro talent well. They're not like, if that is what they continue doing, I don't think people are going to care. More people are going to tune out.
So Teron says, look at how upset people were with the Titans losing while Mike was calling
right.
plays.
No, that's a great call.
Because they didn't think that Mike was going to leave. This is a tweet that was sent this week by Two-Tone Burner. Hold on. No, let me read this tweet. By Two-Tone Burner. Our organization could implode. Everyone could be fired. Amy Adams Strunk could sell the team, and the new stadium could fail inspection. Nissan could crumble. As long as we got Coach Mack and Mike Keith, I'm good. like that was earlier, and then Mike Keith is gone.
I understand that, but also if
they didn't expect this.
If you poll Titans fans and you say Mike Keith stays, he's calling the games, and it's going to be 10 more years of this. Or Mike Keith leaves and they're on a better trajectory for winning football and going to Super Bowls. Nobody's taking option one.
I'm not saying the play-by-play voice is more important than winning. I'm talking about
the GM is like pivotal.
I don't
in
think
winning.
This GM, the reality to me, Sam,
but regardless,
this GM hire is not going to be like the ultimate swing difference.
I mean, let's look at the two options, right? Option one is this GM has all the power, which is now what the Titans are suddenly saying that
he doesn't have all the power.
He's got key decision-making power when it comes to the draft and free agency. So the Titans are now telling you that this guy's running the draft and free agency and that he's playing a pivotal role. If that is true, obviously this GM is very important into winning. Even if it's not true, even if Chad Brinker is the one who's running the draft, running free agency, he is still doing it based off of the information that this super scout or glorified director of scouting, the information that this guy is bringing to him. If you bring in a general manager who is talented, who is a talented top tier evaluator, like the Titans are seeking, somebody who, builds a history of drafting very well and knows where the talent is in the draft, the Titans will have better draft classes and have success as an organization. I think regardless of which version of this role you believe, the general manager who clearly will have an impact on the team's process as far as acquiring talent That's impactful.
Again, like most of my argument is this is beyond calling the games,
But
and
let's
I
go back
don't
to
think
Tehran.
that. Okay,
Let's go back because you said winning is the most important thing, and this GM will have a lot more to do regardless of if he's the lowest scout on the totem pole or the top dog. He still has more to do with the Titans winning games than Mike Keith does,
but
and that is
I
realistically
realistically
care about.
Win is, and again, this is another conversation for another day. But I'm using my expectations in my answer of the question because I don't expect them to win a bunch of games really anytime soon.
Well, Austin. Let's do it this way because you're not a Titan fan, right? You are a Vault fan.
Yes.
So we love Mike Keith. Mike Keith is the play-by-play guy of the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yes.
Do you want to go 7-5 next year with Mike Keith yelling sack every time the Vols?
That's not what I'm
talking. Or do you want to go to the national championship game?
Of course, I go to the national championship game. Like, I'm not denying that. That's not what I'm saying here. Is that there has never been. It will never be the same. Like the Titans will never be the same because the options to replace Mike Keith in the radio booth is somebody that will never live up to what he is in the history of this organization, to be the flag bearer, torch bearer, no pun intended with the Vols, of this entire organization, and the connection to the emotional connection to the fan base is gone. And it's not ever going to be replaced.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But
at the worst possible time.
I don't know
at the worst possible time.
Hey, it's undoubtedly insult to injury. And I don't think it will ever be the same, but like that's part of life, right? Like franchises go through these evolutions. You will see like Mike Keith is a part of Titans history now. Mike Keith is, hey, remember the Mike Keith days. And yet I still don't think it will be like, I think we can acknowledge the fact, right? It will never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So the hire doesn't matter. Who you replace him with doesn't matter because they're not going to be Mike Keith. Even if you crush it, he's not Mike Keith with whoever your new voice of the Titans is. Right. And so I think Titans fans would much rather look back fondly on the Mike Keith days and being like, hey, well, now we're
I think the other aspect of this too is that he has been the only one. Like nobody knows what a Titans game sounds like without Mike Keith. Like that Titans radio
Most people don't know what a Titans game sounds like because they watch it on TV.
I'm not discrediting that either, but Mike Keith is beyond just that. We know what the Titans sound like. You hear Mike Keith's voice and it's associated with the Tennessee Titans and so many different memories and players and histories and moments of the past.
Right. And I agree with that. And I think that makes it scarier right now. Like I remember when Hawk Harrelson left the White Sox and I had the feeling of, what do you mean I have to listen to White Sox games and I don't get to hear he gone and put it on the board and I don't get to hear Hawk rooting on the team? Like, I don't want to live in that world. And then 3-4 years later, you're used to it. And the fact that the White Sox had then become a winning team and we're going to the playoffs, I was having more fun watching White Sox baseball than I ever was when I was watching and listening to Hawk Harrelson because it was impactful, meaningful baseball. So regardless of what you think the GM's role is going to be, this GM is going to be more essential in the Titans building a winner and a long-term sustained winner than Mike Keith ever has been. And so while Mike Keith has that emotional tie to the fan base, emotional tie to the organization, he's a legend, a great, he will be missed dearly. People will not be in misery about this if the Titans flip it around and Shedeur Sanders is the quarterback and they're winning games in 2025.
All right, so our YouTube poll is literally at 50-50. Which Titans hire is more impactful this offseason?
That's crazy. That really is crazy to me.
Replacing Mike Keith or the new GM. I think that tells you how important Mike Keith is to a lot of fans. And now Big Ten Jeff says, I have no idea what Mike Keith's voice sound like. One, you do, you would recognize it. And two, Jeff, you're a Colts fan, an Ohio State fan who watches our show because you like A to Z Sports, which we appreciate, but you mostly watch it to troll the fans that watch the show.
You would know Mike Keith's voice.
I recognize the Colts play-by-play guy's voice all the time. But you know what his voice is, but you're not a fan of the team, Jeff. You're just here to troll people.
But like Austin, if so 50-50 is what the chat is at.
Yes.
If I asked people bad football team with Mike Keith or good football team without Mike Keith, where do you think the chat is at?
They're gonna say good football team, obviously.
So then why are we saying that it's more important to hire Mike Keith's replacement than a new general manager?
Because of what we're all talking about, what this GM's going to be, and the fact that do we believe in them to hire the right football people? Like, I think like Mike Keith will not be replaced. Like, it is impossible to replace Mike Keith. It is more possible to replace Ran Carthon than Mike Keith.
Sure. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. I agree with that.
And I think it's the emotional connection about being a fan. Like that is what Mike Keith is. And he's the only person that has done the job for the entire 27 years that there's been a pro football franchise in this state. He's the only guy to do it. It's not like the White Sox who have had guys before your favorite guy, right? He's the only guy.
Yeah.
The only person. So again, I think it's a really, I mean, the fan base is split, which I think the audience is split. So I think it's interesting. I just think that shows you how important Mike is. Let's get to some comments on this before we flip to some football games being played on the field. Got some super chats and some other comments to come in here. But real quick, I want to tell you guys about our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans, fbhp.com/ATOZ. That's where you should turn if you're looking for a new health coverage plan in the new year. Farm Bureau Health Plans is the place to go. They've been serving Tennesseans for 78 years. That is such a long time. So many things have changed, and Farm Bureau Health Plans has just gotten better at serving us, at serving you. So if you need a new spot, a new situation for your health coverage, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I'm about to give you all the winners for NFL wildcard weekend, so stay tuned. But even if I'm wrong, make sure you're doing it on BetMGM with the bonus code ATOZ Sports, up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet misses with BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, for the record, the poll ended with Mike Keith at 49%.
There we go.
The GM at 50%.
Hey, good job, guys. We're on the right side of history.
So I'm just letting you know, I could have ended it when it was Mike Keith 53, Titans GM 47, but I did not. I let it play out. So some super chats to get into here. Curtis says, why didn't Brinker's special injury algorithm predict Snead's injury? He was heavily involved in trading and signing for Snead. I mean, I know you're being funny, but what are you going to do?
I think, I don't know. Brinker's, the actual answer, I guess, is that Brinker's injury algorithm, I think, is soft tissue based with like play speed, practice speed, all of those metrics. And like Snead suffered a quad injury that was because he got hit. Right? It was a contact quad injury. And so it was not necessarily like contact injuries are not accounted for. And like a concussion cannot be prepared.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah. Like, I mean, by the way, last night, total concussions for both Riley Leonard and Tyler Warren, yet college football playoff semifinal. You know, get back in there, son. That's just how that works. Nathaniel, I'm going to get to another comment that's more on the topic. Gene said, this is an accurate take if you're from Tennessee. If you're not from here or don't live here, you don't understand Mike Keith's impact. And I favorited that earlier because I did want to bring that up because I do think there is a difference here of you don't have to be in the state of Tennessee to be a Titans fan. And just because you're in the state of Tennessee doesn't mean you are a Titans fan. But I do think Gene is on something that if you grew up here and followed the team from beginning to now, you feel differently about Mike Keith's impact on the organization than maybe if you are a transplant or if you're a fan maybe if you're a fan from out of state, you have a tighter connection to Mike Keith because that's been your best way to listen is through what the content they produce. I don't know.
Yeah. But I would say, I feel like people from all parts of the country, even non-Titans fans, have similar. Like, I don't think Mike Keith is a unicorn in the sense of, I think he's supremely talented and an icon in Tennessee, but there are Mike Keith-esque figures for a lot of different professional sports franchises. So I do think people can relate to this outside of just Titans fans, even if they don't have the specific tie to Mike Keith. There is a play-by-play announcer out there who people do have this sort of emotional attachment to. It's not foreign to me or other outsiders, the impact that somebody like Mike Keith can have on a fan base in the city.
Yeah. David says Titans fans didn't fill Nissan 16 to 21. I think that it's years 2016, 2021. I'm not entirely sure.
They
Need
didn't
a
fill
PR
it up.
guy. Yeah. I mean, look, they have this the city, the stadium, the location, the destination for away fans, the lack of consistent success. All of that plays into the younger fan base. Again, this is the first time this fan base has gone through something like this. Of like, again, the heartbeat, the voice of the organization leaving. You don't have that to go through again. Like, the dad Titans fans don't have that. Yeah, I remember when so-and-so left. It's just a new experience overall. Nathaniel says, thank goodness Miss Hamp with the Lions didn't go crazy with Campbell and Holmes in their first 2 seasons. They built a team of dogs. Amy could learn from this. I mean, yeah, I think you can learn a lot from the Lions' patience, but they did a lot of losing for many decades.
Yeah. And all it took was do you think the Lions would rather have their play-by-play guy or Holmes in there?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they would rather have the one. Like, you're. I know what you're doing here. Like, you're not like you're being funny and all that. David says the A's consecutive Hall of Fame voices. The new guy can be great.
I mean,
I said that earlier. I think they're going to find a really, really good play-by-play guy, but he's not going to be fully accepted. Like,
knowing this fan base, he's
not Mike Keith. Tough.
He'll be
That's
hated.
It.
You're not Mike Keith. You're hated.
Yeah, just like every quarterback ain't Steve McNair.
Yep.
Andre says it's losing the feeling of one of us in the room, not the play-by-play part. Like when A to Z lost Jack Gentry, it keeps going, but it's not the same. I mean, I think Jack would even think that comment is wild, that he's lumped into losing Mike Keith and losing Jack. Jack is self-aware of that, to think that's a crazy comment. All right. Sam, you did say
Mike Keith and Jack Gentry both lumped into the same level of loss.
Yep. Okay. So let's get to wild card weekend picks, because I do think that's fascinating, because you say you've got winners here. Let's just start off talking football games on the field. What NFL wild card playoff game are you most excited for? Sam, I'll let you start as the chat gets rolling here. What NFL wildcard weekend playoff game do you have your eyes on most?
Man, I think there's going to be I think there's going to be some real good games. I think, and maybe mine is a little out there, but I'm looking at Commanders Bucks as my favorite game to watch. I think Packers Eagles could be entertaining. I think Broncos Bills is going to be a close game. If we get good Bo Nix, that's going to be an electric game to watch. Broncos Bills in Buffalo. Steelers Ravens is obviously a huge rivalry, but Jaden Daniels has had such an electric rookie year. I've been dying to get Baker Mayfield back in the playoffs. I love the idea of this Bucs offense and how explosive that they can be. Prime time in Tampa Bay. I just think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a high scoring game. There's going to be a lot of points on the board. I'm really pumped for Commanders Bucks. I enjoy watching both of these teams play football too. Like, I put the Bucks game on as often as possible. I put the Commanders game on as often as possible. Jaden Daniels throwing to Terry McLaurin and watching Bucky Irving run around everywhere and for the Bucks. Like, this is going to be a fun football game. So that's my one to watch.
I agree. I think that's going to be the best matchup. I do think it's interesting. There are 2 week 1 rematches in the playoffs this weekend. It's Commanders Bucks and Eagles Packers.
Packers Eagles is going to be a lot of fun too. Have we gotten a diagnosis on Jalen Hurts yet?
Jalen's good to go.
That'll be a fun game. That will be a fun game. The Packers are, I don't know if they're better than the Eagles. I would actually assert that they're definitely not, but the Packers play pretty much everybody close. They're going to they'll make that a tight game. And And so, like, if Jordan Love cannot choke it away in the second half, I think they've got a shot in that one. And then, like I said,
Jordan
Broncos,
Love also dealing with an elbow injury that affected his grip strength on the football.
are we going to get Malik Willis in this game?
I mean,
that might be my bold take. I think Malik Willis plays in this football game. I think the Packers lose in a close one, and Malik Willis plays some of the second
like
half.
out of necessity because Love gets hurt.
Yeah. Like that's going to be my.
Drew brings up Christian Watson tore his ACL last week.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how much they care about that. Weirdly, the Packers, I know he's great, but like the Packers have like five of the same. They've got five of the same guy. Like they're just like, oh no, we have to throw to Dontavian Wicks a couple times more. Like,
Romeo Doubs, but
Doubs,
Christian Watson
Reed,
is like Christian
Wicks.
Watson in a playoff game can run 50 yards on the field and catch a deep ball and make a big deal, make a big impact.
Sure.
And he's not there.
So can Bo Melton, I guess, because they always find a new guy to do it.
Yeah,
I want to be excited about Steelers Ravens.
I do not care about that game. That game can just sit by itself and be played, and I'll look at the score later.
I want to be excited about it. I just don't believe in the Steelers right now with how they've played and limped in that they're going to make it exciting for me.
No, I think the Ravens are going to win that game. The Ravens are 9.5-point favorites. I feel like every Texans home playoff game that is on Saturday afternoon looks the exact same.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this game is the game that they played last year, and they get this is the Browns Texans. It's the Browns Texans game from last year. It's the same game.
It's Texans Raiders with backup quarterbacks from 4 years ago. It's the same game every time.
Yeah, the Chargers are going to win that game. I think the Chargers cover. I think the Chargers might blow them out, actually. Like, I might take the Chargers on an alt spread at like 12.5. Like, I think this is, I think it could be like a 27-6, like ugly type of game. So I'm all over the Chargers. I will be stunned. Like, I cannot believe it's a 3-point spread. I got it at 2.5. Would be stunned if the Chargers don't win by a touchdown.
Really? Okay.
Like, I have zero faith in the Houston Texans.
Yeah, same. Texans versus Chargers, Drew, or Jason, who asked the question. Who has the most pressure this NFL wildcard weekend? I think this is an interesting topic to get into as well. And we'll talk a little college football too, because another game tonight. Real quick, the Bart Durham Injury Law, they've got you covered. Our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. Crash can change your life forever, and help is only a click away at bartdurham.com. Your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. And so you can reach the Bart Durham team 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. 615-242-9000. That's 615-242-9000. Attorneys are always available to meet, whether chat or phone call. And you can visit their website, bartdurham.com, for current news and blogs, especially one to how to manage the weather on the roads this weekend. If you have to drive, I suggest you go check out bartdurham.com. Do a little reading up on the safest way to get around town this weekend with some winter weather if you have to. But they're always right there. Click away at bartdurham.com.
Today's show brought to you by BetMGM. So here's my picks for the weekend. I have bet on both Chargers -2.5, Minnesota Vikings -1.5. I've parlayed those together at +260 together. So Chargers,
one more time.
Chargers -2.5, Vikings -1.5, +260.
Okay.
I've taken the Chargers -2.5 on my own at -118. And then I put together a little bit of my Hail Mary fun wild card weekend parlay. Chargers money line in under 42.5 and Chargers Texans. Let's see. We've got James Cook anytime touchdown.
Okay. I like that.
Buffalo Bills money line. Lamar Jackson anytime touchdown score. Over 45.5 in Eagles Packers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers money line. Jalen Naylor anytime touchdown score for the Minnesota Vikings. It's plus 37,000.
You got a plus 37,000, not 3,700.
37,000. $10 to win. $3,711.
That's nuts.
Hey,
Okay.
If we get through tomorrow.
Oh, wait, all of those things were parlayed together?
Yeah. So tomorrow I need a Lamar Jackson touchdown, and I need the Chargers to win and under 42.5 in Chargers Texans.
Okay.
And if that happens, then we get to Sunday. And then on Sunday, we would need over 45.5 in Packers Eagles.
Okay.
The Bills to win and James Cook to score. And then if we get through all of that, and the Bucks to win on Sunday night. And then if we get through all of that, Jalen Naylor anytime touchdown on Monday Night Football to cash the $3,000 bet.
8.
Yeah, it's an 8-leg parlay.
Crazy.
Dude, you got to throw one Hail Mary parlay out there.
No, you don't. You really don't.
Nah, I do. You don't have to. I do. I need it.
Okay. All right. You don't have to either. Tennessee Red Line. All right. So most pressure. Most pressure this weekend. It could be team. It could be player. Because I see Burning Devil says Bills and Packers. Steven says Texans big time. Bork says Nick Sirianni, Eagles head coach. If he loses, he might get canned. I think that's an interesting thought there.
Yeah.
What do you think? Ravens?
I'm going with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson. You've had this big MVP season. Maybe you win MVP, maybe you don't, but you're in the conversation. It's the best season of Lamar's career. You got help in Derrick Henry, right? This is what we've heard. Now, the Ravens' problem in the playoffs every year has been that the running game just doesn't hit like it does in the regular season all the time. Lamar becomes turnover prone in the regular season or in the postseason. A lot of key crucial turnovers courtesy of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And it's always this conversation of he can't win the big one. He can't beat the Chiefs. He can't actually go and get to the Super Bowl. You're staring down a home rivalry game against a Russell Wilson-led Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a big pressure game to me. Yeah. That's you cannot lose that game. And so the difference between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because I see people saying Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, is that Josh Allen has a history in the playoffs now of being unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen is I'm just going to pull up his playoffs. In 10 playoff games, number one, he's 5-5 in the playoffs, but 27-23 passing yards in 10 games, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 563 rushing yards in 10 playoff games. So he's averaging over 56 rushing yards per game, 275 passing yards per game. He's averaging 2 touchdowns and less than 1 turnover. He has put together the highest quarterback ratings in the history of the NFL in a postseason run, playing quarterback in the playoffs. Josh Allen is never the reason why the Bills lose in the playoffs. He has not been. They've lost games 27-24 to the Kansas City Chiefs, 42-36 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They give up 38 points to the Kansas City Chiefs in another game. It's never on Josh Allen. The Ravens have lost because of Lamar a lot of times. Lamar has dropped the ball. And so the difference between the two of them to me is that I think Lamar needs to show up. And if the Ravens lose the game because the Steelers score 35 points, that's not on Lamar at the end of the day. Lamar controls what Lamar can control, but he cannot turn into a pumpkin like he has in the playoffs.
Like Drew Aller did last night, turning into a pumpkin.
And I don't think there's consequences for any of this, right? I hear the argument for one of these coaches that might get fired if they don't play well. I think Sam Darnold and Russell Wilson are 2 quarterbacks that have a lot of money to lose if they, don't show up. So I think there's pressure on both Sam Darnold.
Both road teams for those quarterbacks.
Both road teams, yeah. But I think Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, you have to play adequately at worst.
Yeah.
I can hear consequences, and there's no consequences for Lamar. He's under contract. He's going to be back next year. He'll be an MVP favorite again next year. But I think as a whole, we're kind of going to be tired of the act of being like, oh, yeah, let's all pretend like Lamar has a chance this year just for him to not get it done in the playoffs again. And this is the best chance I think the Ravens have had of making a deep run in a very long time.
Yeah, I do think I agree. It is Lamar Jackson. I think if the Ravens do lose, they lost to Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin as big favorites. Okay. If the Bills lose, they lost at home as big favorites to Bo Nix as a rookie. Like there's like that stings more. Right? I think.
Yeah.
But I still think the answer is correct if Lamar Jackson.
The chat is also like saying like I'm trying to set like statistically I'm not making that up. Josh Allen has the highest quarterback rating in the NFL history in the playoffs. He also just has a horrible defense that gives up like 34 points a game in the playoffs. They do win because of him. They went through an entire playoff run where he completed over 80% of his passes, and they played 2 playoff games. He completed 80% of his passes, threw for over 600 yards and 9 touchdowns, no picks, and ran for 130 yards in the playoffs. The year before, it was 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. He ran for 140 yards and a touchdown and completed about 74% of his passes. Like, Josh Allen has been the truth for the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs.
Yeah, fair enough.
You can argue he's not as good as all these other guys in the regular season, but like, man, he's gotten it done.
No, I'm with you. All right, you ready for some good news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Good news to wrap up the weekend. If you've got good news, it's been a tough week for Titans fans, but if you have good news, drop it in the chat. Time to wrap up this week. To our friends, Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Save some money on that new ride. Maybe wait until the snow melts at Wilson County Hyundai.
Hang on.
Okay.
I just gotta. I can't help myself. I'm in a mood today, but like, boss man Gem is on the hot seat. He's the one that originally said they don't win because of him either. Then he comes back in and somebody says, no Super Bowl appearances, it means nothing, which like Super Bowl appearances are not a quarterback stat. Again, like they can be when a quarterback carries them. And then he says, so why don't they get to the big game? Casey does because of Mahomes. Not true. Patrick Mahomes actually
defense
has a great defense, has had a historically great defense, and has had it unreal amount of weapons. The amount of times that the Chiefs would have gotten bounced in the playoffs if it wasn't for Tyreek Hill doing something freakish or Travis Kelce doing something freakish right at the end of the game to save Kansas City. Like you just can't say that they win these playoff games when you watch the playoff games because of Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes does things in playoff games to give them a chance. You were never out of the game when you have Patrick Mahomes. He is a great quarterback in the playoffs, but like, we also can't pretend like he doesn't have the best head coach, the best defense, and some of the best weapons in the entire sport. That's crazy. Anyways,
right,
I'm not even going to look at the response from the chat. I'm blocking it out.
Rooney says, good news, no bad Titans football this weekend. Jeff says, good news, Ohio State defeats Texas tonight, advances the Natty, and maybe I'll be able to super chat on Monday. I think, are you blocked on YouTube?
I think he is. I do think we had that happen again. Yeah.
Bork says, good
Ohio
news.
State's winning tonight, right?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think they're going to win pretty big.
Bork says, good news. Kids are loving the snow day. Deborah says her good news is still be listening to Mike Keith, just this time for the Vols games. Alex, good news. Can't beat a free PTO day with the snow. Isaac saying, good news. Fighting Irish pulled off the win last night. We didn't talk much about college football playoffs as we're, after 9:30.
What do you think I should be rooting for with the Irish? So I hate Notre Dame, hate Notre Dame. There is no college football team that I dislike more than the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
But is Northern Illinois the national champion if they win it all? Like, I mean, if the one Notre Dame national championship season is tainted by a loss to my Huskies,
taint. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad consolation.
I mean,
consolation.
but it's like Ohio State, right? Like if you're like Michigan fans are rooting for Ohio State to win the national title.
Are they?
They are. They are. And they're set because the thing is, well, I don't really care if they win a national title. Even in their best year where they win a national title, they couldn't beat Michigan.
So for me, I also don't like Notre Dame, but I've found myself rooting for Notre Dame. For one, Ryan Roberts, our Notre Dame writer, is a freaking beast, and I want to see that guy have more opportunity to continue to be a beast. And that's happening right now. Two, because the last two games Notre Dame has played, they've played against two people that I dislike most in college football. Not most, because Dabo's a part of that, but I don't like James Franklin at all. I don't like him. I think he's also very slimy and snaky. And I don't like Kirby Smart and Georgia. So they beat those two teams, which makes me happy personally. So that's where I'm okay with Notre Dame. I want Ohio State to wax Texas tonight. I don't think Quinn Ewers is very good. I want to be proven correct on that. I think Ohio State.
I still think we are owed and this is part of my Malik Willis premonition that I'm having with Green Bay. We're owed second half Arch Manning tonight, right?
Sure. I mean, this might be the last chance.
Why is that?
Because if they're not going to win.
Oh, wow. I thought you were saying Arch is done. I'm like,
well, no. I mean, for right now,
are we not owed? Texas is down by 14. They put Arch Manning in the second half, and then the game gets kind of frisky close, and we have to, I mean, I know you kind of predicted before the college football playoff even came in that you were saying it's going to be a Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa moment with Quinn Ewers passing the torch to Arch Manning in the middle of the game.
Now, it almost happened, but Quinn Ewers played both roles against Arizona State. It just happened to be Arizona State and not somebody worth it, not somebody great.
All right, I got a question for you. Okay. So we're not even on the good news track anymore, but I would like to know, because I'm not a college football guy. I don't have.
You're becoming one though.
Yeah, but I don't have roots because I'm always stunned at how college football fans feel, because I didn't grow up a huge college football fan, and so some of the stuff I just don't get. If you're Ohio State, are you excited about a national title if you lost to Michigan?
Yeah.
Because I've always been astounded at college fans being like, well, it's we got to win the Chick-fil-A Bowl. And I'm like, I don't care. I'd rather have more teams competing for a national title. And the argument has always been national title's not everything to people in college.
No, but
football.
it's
more about beating your rivals.
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think it's more things, things matter a ton.
Because to me, I'm yeah, we won the national championship, but I think it's a really interesting dynamic that your head coach is kind of not.
Oh, it's weird. And it's weird.
But you got a really easy path to the dance, and now you're probably the best team left, and you might be sitting there looking at a national title in a year that everybody felt horrible about Ryan Day, and you got embarrassed by a horrible Michigan team with a quarterback that can't throw the ball.
In that Michigan Ohio State game was as weird as it can be, and whatever it was, it flipped a switch.
Is this a I guess this would be an argument. Ohio State this year, Jeff says, but it's a natty. That's much harder than beating Michigan. Well, for Ohio State, it hasn't been. Ohio State will have more national titles in the last 5 years than wins against Michigan. So
And you said you meant easy path in the regular season, not the playoff.
Well, who'd they play last week?
Oregon.
Oh, okay. No, then I take it back. I was wrong. I was talking about the play, but they've had one of the harder paths. I got it mixed up with Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State had the easiest path.
I was wrong. I apologize for that. I don't know. It's just interesting. Is Ohio State then the example of what I've been saying for a long time about why the college football playoff needs expansion? Because the truthers out there, Notre Dame, the truthers out there would say Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Get them out of here. they don't deserve a national title, right? They have one loss, and it was a bad loss. And in no era ever is Notre Dame sitting in a national title game this year after a loss to Northern Illinois. But you expand the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. They make this run. Now they've got a chance at the title. Ohio State lost to Michigan in embarrassing fashion, where everybody else would have said Ohio State, not that good. You sat here and like you were a little bit better about it, but your Vol boys, Charlie Burris and Zach Reagan, were saying Tennessee should be ranked ahead of Ohio State because they were better than Ohio State.
That's resumes. That was a resume conversation.
Right. It's a resume thing. But so like, regardless, that was a conversation for like the 8th spot. And now you're talking about a potential steamroll to the national title that Ohio State is on, this warpath. Is this then validation for the people that say the regular season game does like it's basically saying all of the college football people that said the regular season should matter, that one loss should matter, which I think has been dumb forever because you don't play perfect football every week. Like, this is an example of like the best team might look horrible one week. And
I think the difference is you've come into college football in a very different college football than what has been college football for the nowadays, 80 years before.
But what is it now?
Now it's the fact that I think Ohio State wins tonight and you have the 7 seed versus the 8 seed for the national championship is a good showing that college football playoff needed to be expanded. Yes, absolutely. But those two brands are Ohio State, Notre Dame, like that are not like,
but like I mean, I've heard it in like,
I get what you're saying.
All love, respect to my guy, Nick Suss. That's my guy. But like him and I have argued about this because I know he is sort of a purist on the college football playoff. And he has this belief of, well, the college football playoff is like horrible when you expand it to crowning the best team. The more teams that are in the playoff, the more unlikely you are to get a deserving champion. And I'm not sure I've ever agreed with that logic because, like, if we are to take the 3-point victory from Ohio, or 1-point victory, whatever it was, from Oregon over Ohio State in the regular season, use that to put Oregon ahead of them in the rankings. You know, perhaps that makes sense from resume, but does that mean that Oregon is a better football team than Ohio State? I think Ohio State proved no, that does not mean that because they blew them out in the Rose Bowl. Yeah. I think if we knocked Notre Dame down a peg and said, well, you're not the best team, you lost to Northern Illinois, we would have lost the opportunity for Notre Dame to prove it against some top tier opponents.
For sure. I think the main thing is that we have to understand that whatever our opinions were about college football pre-COVID are irrelevant to college football now. Like we have to separate and split the difference there.
Yeah,
because it is a completely different sport.
I mean, if we think like Jeff says, Oregon has been a fraud all year, which maybe is true. I haven't paid enough close attention to them, but in a non-college football playoff BCS world, Oregon is crowned the national champion without having to play a game after.
I think you can't call Oregon a fraud, Jeff. I mean that is way too over.
They beat a lot of really good teams.
I think the every college football team had holes. When we looked at the bracket, when we started the playoff, you're like, I don't know who could win.
He was talking about Texas.
Okay, Texas, they have holes.
Would you agree with?
Yes, Texas has a ton of holes, namely the quarterback that's starting. So anyway, look, I think.
Sorry, I started a whole college football conversation. I do find it really fascinating, though, how we potentially have a matchup between. Like, if Texas wins the national title, I think that's the most boring option where you're just kind of like, yeah, they were the best team. They
lost to Georgia twice.
Like everybody said that they were not going to be good. They lost to Georgia. How many times? Twice. And they lost to Georgia twice. They beat everybody else. I find it interesting when Ohio State looked as ugly as Ohio State looked. Notre Dame looked as bad as Notre Dame looked against Northern Illinois. Losses that, like I said, would have taken them fully out of contention in any other year. And that being the first year of the college football playoff where it's your national title matchup would be for really interesting dialogue moving forward about how heavily we weigh one loss in September or October.
It's good. Yeah. Everything is a moving target with college football now, but all right, I gotta go. We have gone way too long.
I'm sorry.
So, all right, guys, that is it for us on this Friday. It's been a crazy week, but make sure you hit that like button, like the show. Give us a 5-star Google review, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we'll see what the weekend holds. Titans GM interviews are happening today, starting today throughout the weekend. We'll catch you later. Appreciate it as always.